Hello Gamefreak, my name is Blaze and I'm a Pokemon fan. I'm recording this video today not in the hopes that you'll make adjustments to Pokemon Sword and Shield, but in the hopes that you'll start to rethink your development schedule and your release schedule for future Pokemon titles. I want to make one thing very clear before I start. This video is not about graphics. This video is not about Pokemon animations being recycled. It's not about the water in the game looking like oil. It's not about the lack of a national dex, although that's a part of it. This video is not about the countless complaints I've seen tweeted about and talked about online for the last 2 weeks. It's about something a little bit more concerning and something I think that the fan base should probably keep in mind and should probably be complaining about rather than what's being said. Pokemon Sword and Shield's coming out November 15th, whether we like it or not. And I'm actually excited. I'm looking forward to it. I want to play it. But there is one thing that's in the back of my mind that's making me think, if this happens, it's going to be very upsetting. And this thing in the back of my mind, I'm deeply concerned about this. I'm deeply concerned, and I'll come out and say it. I'm deeply concerned that next year, around November, you're going to come out with Pokemon Ultra Sword and Ultra Shield. And I think this is a topic that all Pokemon fans should be protesting rather than, the recycled character animations, HD graphics, and all that stuff. I think this is a much more concerning issue. If you were going to release a Pokemon Ultra Sword and Shield next year, it's basically just taking money out of the pockets of the fans that made these games popular in the first place. It's extremely scary that this could happen, and I want to explain why I think it might happen here in a second. But I do not want this to happen. Gamefreak, please do not do this. Just from the bottom of my heart, please reconsider. But in order to explain why I feel this way, I think we have to flash back all the way back to 1996, 97, back when Pokemon Red and Blue first came out. Just stating the facts here, about a year after Pokemon Red and Blue came out, a year or two, Pokemon Yellow came out. An upgraded version of Pokemon Red and Blue with Pikachu who followed you around. After that, Pokemon Crystal came out about a year or two after Gold and Silver. We had Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire come out, and then about a year or two later, Pokemon Emerald came out. We had Pokemon Black and White that came out, and then this is where things started to get different. For the first time, you released a sequel to a Pokemon game, except you released two versions of it. So it wasn't just your Pokemon Crystal, it wasn't just your Pokemon Emerald, it was actually Pokemon Black and White 2. It was a sequel. There were brand new characters, and there was minor enhancements to the game too, a brand new story as well. At the time, it was the first time I got a red flag. It was the first red flag that came up during that time. It was like, okay, maybe they're phoning it in a little bit, and that's a little concerning. Thankfully, when X and Y came out, we didn't have a Pokemon Z. There was no upgraded version of Pokemon X and Y, so you did us a favor on that. Thank you. But then came Pokemon Sun and Moon. Exactly 1 year after Pokemon Sun and Moon came out, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came out with a slightly modified story, a new Pokemon Surf game, and Pokemon that were available in Alola that quite honestly should have been there from the beginning. This one really hurt. It really damaged me because it made me feel like Pokemon Sun and Moon were not even complete games. Like I was buying a demo for full price and then buying the full game at full price again the following year. Now here we are in 2019, and the idea that Pokemon Sword and Shield will not allow you to transfer every single Pokemon into the game is frightening. It's frightening, as a Pokemon fan, it's frightening because it's a clear indication that one, Ultra Sword and Shield are coming, and two, that Sword and Shield themselves are not even complete games. I mean, it's very concerning to think that you're releasing these games in a state that is incomplete. Not to mention, the fact that not even a month and a half ago, you were talking about how Pokemon Home was going to allow you to transfer all your Pokemon into the new games. That was the entire selling point of Pokemon Home, and now you're not doing it. I don't want to go on a rant about the national decks. I don't think that's necessarily fair. The games are coming out November 15th, whether we agree with them or not. And again, I'm going to play them. I'm going to enjoy them. But I'm more scared about this time next year than I am about the fact that I can't bring Spoink into the game. You know, there's plenty of Pokemon that I'm probably not going to bring into the game anyway. But at the same time, I want the option to be there. So if you tell me that next year in November, Ultra Sword and Shield are coming and they're going to have the ability to transfer all of the Pokemon in, it's going to blow my mind, because why wasn't this in there in the first place? Honestly, if you need another year to make a Pokemon game, take that extra year. I don't think anybody would complain. Sure, we want Pokemon games as often as we can get them, and we want new Pokemon as often as we can get them, but I don't think anybody needs a Pokemon game, a mainline Pokemon game every single year. I liked my time in Alola. I would have loved if Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon were the only Alola games that we ever got. We never got regular Sun and Moon, and that was it. And we had 2 years of game time in that world just to play, just to have fun, train our Pokemon, and actually feel like we were accomplishing something and working towards, collecting them all, or, battling online, or whatever the case is, whatever we wanted to do in that game, we had all this time to do it. The problem is that you guys released Pokemon Sun and Moon, and then a year later released slightly modified versions. It's disheartening. I paid $40. I bought both games. I paid $40, and then a year later, I did the same thing, thinking that they were going to be, there was going to be more content, and there really wasn't. So you can understand why I'm concerned and why I'm apprehensive and why I'm treading lightly right now, because I feel like that's going to happen again with Sword and Shield. I can complain all day. I can talk about the graphics. I can talk about the Pokedex. I can talk about, what's been done in the past, and that's all well and good. But I also want to talk about the future and what I think you should be doing. Of course, I don't own Gamefreak, but I have bought almost every single Pokemon game on launch, and I know that that doesn't really mean anything. Lots of people have done that, but I feel like if you're listening to the fans and you really want to put quality work out there, I have some ideas on how you can fix this problem. So going forward, if you do find yourself in a situation where it's taking a little bit more time than you thought to make a full, complete Pokemon game, I think it's important that you take that time. I know that not having a Pokemon release every year is probably hurting revenue. I know that people are clamoring for more Pokemon and things like that, but again, like I said before, I wasn't prepared to see a new Pokemon game this year, and then it came out. So I'm excited for it. I want to play it, but I didn't need it. So if it takes you 3 years to make one, I mean, Sword and Shield took 2. So if it takes you 3, I'm okay with you taking 3 years to make a solid Pokemon game. One that you really took your time with, one that you made sure every Pokemon was available, and one that you actually did everything you could to put as much into the game as possible. That'd be great. In the meantime, there are other Pokemon series and other Pokemon side games that would be great to come out. So what I'd like going forward is I don't want to go back to Galar, to the Galar region. I think the Galar region is it's coming out in November. I'm going to play through it. I'm going to have a good time. But next year, I don't want to go back to Galar. I want something different. I want you to focus on making a new Pokemon game. I want you to focus on Generation 9. Of course, that won't be for at least 3 years. But Generation 9 could be coming sooner rather than later, leading up to Generation 10, and probably 1,000 Pokemon. That'd be insane. But it would be a huge milestone. In the meantime, we've got 2 years of Pokemon that we could still have. So Pokemon games that could still come out. this time next year, it would be very easy for you to release a Pokemon Snap game, Pokemon Snap 2. You could use gyro controls to, take pictures of Pokemon as you sit in your coaster and go through the on-rails game. You can make it a little bit more interactive if you wanted to. I mean, there's a ton of things that you could do with this game, and I know the idea has to be a little bit more innovative than it was in the past, but I think there are great ideas out there, and I think that if your team really sat down and thought about it, you can come up with a great idea that would really hit home for Pokemon Snap 2. That could be next year. The following year, you could easily do Pokemon Let's Go Gold and Silver. I loved Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I loved the detail, the amount of detail in the environments. I loved the music. I loved the visual style. The only thing that I didn't like was the wild Pokemon encounters. I thought that was a little bit lacking, but do the same thing. Make Pokemon Gold and Silver in the same style as Let's Go Eevee, with the same amount of detail, same amount of visual appeal, the same amount of music, all that. I liked Pokemon Let's Go Eevee in the long run overall, and I wouldn't mind playing through Pokemon Let's Go Heart or Let's Go Soul. I can't even say this. Pokemon Let's Go Silver and Gold. That would be very cool, and I think that would be another way to kind of buy yourself some extra time. Let's not forget there's Pokemon Ranger and Mystery Dungeon that I know that those games have been. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon especially was a big seller, and one of the better games in the series. Wouldn't be a bad idea for that to come out. Pokken Tournament, another game that could make its way out at some point with Pokemon in it. Doesn't have to be a mainline Pokemon game for it to be successful, so it's something to think about. And then on the third year, or even if you need extra time, the third year could be one of two things. It could be Pokemon Generation 9, or you can push that back until the following year and give us what I think everybody would love, or at least me specifically, Diamond and Pearl remakes. I would absolutely love Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes to come out, whether it's next year, the year after, or the year after that. I would be ecstatic, and I love Diamond and Pearl. They were some of my favorite games. I have some really great memories of playing through those games with my friends. So it would be a home run for me, without a doubt. So, if that could be something that could come out, and that would be wonderful. And then, of course, Generation 9 a few years later. Looking at games like Animal Crossing, where a new mainline game wasn't available for 6 years, the reactions were incredible. I mean, it was really great and refreshing to see a new Animal Crossing game on my screen. Just like if you waited 4 years to announce a new Pokemon game, a new Pokemon generation, it would be amazing. You could really take your time to fine-tune the character designs and stylize it however you wanted to. You could really make something special out of a Pokemon game if you took your time to finish it. In closing, I love Pokemon. I always will. And I don't want to purchase incomplete games. I don't want to purchase DLC at the full price. And that's what Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon felt like to me, was I was purchasing DLC for the full price of the game. I don't want to purchase the same game over and over again. I don't want to purchase a demo for the same price as a full game. And that's what Sun and Moon felt like to me. This practice is very comparable to the way that EA does business with their loot boxes and DLC, and I really don't want to see Pokemon fall into that same category of comparison. Gamefreak's a great company, Pokemon's a great franchise, it's a great brand, but if you're going to nickel and dime people for the games as they come out, it's going to be very frustrating for a Pokemon fan like myself going forward. I've been playing Pokemon for 20 years, ever since the first Red and Blue. I don't want to stop, and I don't want to feel like I have to stop because I can't afford to do it anymore. So, in closing, I just want to thank you for watching. If this did find its way over to Game Freak by some, perfectly serendipity happenstance, I would love it if it did find its way over to Game Freak. But even if it didn't and you enjoyed the content, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And hopefully the next 4 or 5 years of Pokemon are not going to feel like I felt for Sun and Moon. But thank you again for watching, and have yourself a great day.